back in and modify what how we used to account for custodial activities or into trust and agency fund into custodial and fiduciary activities. If I could just point the board to just 2 pages within the statements, it's the balance sheet. It is actually page 12 on the bottom of the statement, not page 12 in the PDFs. But the balance sheet of the town, it's segregated by the major funds. Page 12 again, separated your assets, your liabilities, and your fund balances. And if you have that page together with page 14, which is the revenues and expenses of the town, again by major funds for 2020, you're going to see that at the end of 2020, the general fund has some $3 million in fund balance. A certain portion of that is restricted. A certain portion is non-spendable. Some is assigned. And then there's unassigned fund balance. The unassigned fund balance in the general fund at the end of 2020, $1.9 million. If you look at that compared to the expenditures in the general fund for 2020, we had some $2 million expenditure for the full year. If the controller came in to audit the town and did a fiscal stress test, we're looking for something like 20% of your expenditures should be in fund balance. We're almost at 100% of expenditures sitting in fund balance. Again, point in time, and I know we spent some of that fund balance in 2021 for the town hall down the street, but even with that expenditure, we're sitting in very good financial shape in the general fund. If we do that same analysis for all the other major funds, each and every fund is certainly going to pass the fiscal stress test by the auditor or the state controller. So all in all, we're in terrific financial shape at this point in time. Looking at November, I don't know, you go over those reports here tonight. But you see, 2021 revenues are trending above budget, expenditures are trending below budget. So I think again in 2021 we're going to have again additional surplus in 2021. So all in all, a good audit report. Again, progress that we've seen over the past 3 years. Enjoyed working with you, Benny, over those 3 years, or 2 years, 2 of them, right? And Dave, you've been fun to work as well. I'll be happy to take questions the board may have on giving the conduct of the audit and the contents within the information.
I don't have any personally. Paul, we've met several times, had conversations over the phone. We had that nice, in-depth exit interview, whatever you want to call it, interview conference with Dave. I think most of my questions have been answered. And again, I'd like to repeat, it has also been a pleasure working with you over the past 2 years. You guys have answered the calls when I made them or Dave has made them. You've been up front with us. We've been up front with you about problems that we thought we had, and you guys worked real hard with Dave to solve those major issues. So I thank you very much. Anybody else?
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Have a good holiday. Next up will be public comment. Mr. Olenek.
At the end of the report, I do have one question. You alluded to a major problem that they went public. Can we find out what that is?
Dave? You better come up to the microphone. Give him, you know what? Steal this microphone here. It seems to work better.
Issues that I did have the opportunity to work through and rectify. I think we're a place where now we have a clean slate and we can move forward in the right direction.
There were some issues in the past that we had to correct. And,
There's
Dave,
some liabilities that, we just, substantiated on the balance sheets and, with remove that, and they're saying they're not counting, but, it's Paul alluded to, but we have, been able to address.
anyone else? Mrs. Iacucci.
Martha Iacucci, 9 Russell Street, Boston, Park. As chairperson of the Town of Milton Democratic Committee, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Denny Flatman for his service to the town. Denny has worked for the town in some fashion since he was 19 years old, beginning with the Town Economic and Development Council, then serving 10 years on the planning board, 2 as councilperson, and culminating as town supervisor for the past 2 years. Danny was also involved with the Boy Scouts for over 20 years and was instrumental in keeping Boyhaven in its natural state. Thank you for your dedication in working to make the town of Milton a better place for all its residents. I'm sure Danny can tell us which of his positions were the most rewarding and the most enjoyable. While his position as supervisor, I'm sure, was rewarding, I'm not sure it was his most enjoyable. The past 2 years have been very challenging, to say the least. Beginning with computer issues, COVID, town hall repairs, and town employees, both appointed and elected, who decided on day one to be as uncooperative and obstructive as possible. Trying to be more transparent and giving the public more opportunity to speak than the previous administration, Benny added a second monthly meeting and a second public comment period. One unfortunate result was more unwarranted, inappropriate, personal attack on Benny's character. Through all of this, we are still able to celebrate accomplishments. Our budget is under control, town hall is being renovated, the River 50 project is moving forward, and we have recognized and welcomed our LGBTQ community. We also selected town committee members based on their qualifications rather than which political party they belong to. Thank you, Benny. I hope you stay involved in town happenings and events moving forward. I would like to give Scott Ostrander the best of luck in the next 2 years. I hope he does not have to face the same hate-filled personal attacks that Benny has endured. In closing, I would just like to wish you all a wonderful holiday filled with peace and love. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Bedoya.
Thank you very much. It's refreshing to see that an audit and a review of financial statements can actually take place in this. But I digress. It would be also nice to have a real answer to Mr. Arnold's question. Public is not stupid. I'm not thinking, Dave. I understand assets, I understand liabilities, and the question and answer is asked. And you can deliver a specific answer. What assets were overstated or understated, and what liabilities specifically were overstated or understated. Never let you know. Okay, you share that, some aspects were wrong, and liabilities wrong. Which one? But as I said, I digress, because the whole point of thought tonight, I've been up there, and I just wanted to wish everyone Merry Christmas, and it's the season, board members, everyone here,
And as we look forward to the new year, we look forward to some positive change in this town. Town of Milton is one of the top 3 towns in the county of Saratoga. And it's time that we start to act about it. Talk about the challenges in front of us, but we also have the deep pool of talent that exists within this town. It's time that we tap that talent and use it to help resolve some of the challenges that lie in front of us. I wish everyone a happy new year, and I wish the best success for this town. We have tremendous potential, and it's time that we get back to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? I don't see any hands from our attendees on Zoom, so I will close the first public comment session. Next up is a motion to accept the December 8th draft minutes. Any discussion? Brenda, can you pull the board, please?
Councilman Blazer. Councilman Hurd. Yes. Councilman Jackson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zavadi.
Yes, thank you. Next up, a motion to approve William Lewis to buy out 40 hours of vacation time.
I'll make that one.
Any discussion? Brenda, can you pull the board, please?
Councilman Blazer. Councilman Hurd. Yes. Councilman Jackson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zavadi.
Yes. Next up, a motion to accept the audited financial statements for financial year 2020 as presented by BST.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Any discussion? Brenda, pull the board, please.
Councilman Blazer. Yes. Councilwoman Hurd. Yes. Councilman Jackson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zavadi.
Yes. Next up is a motion to advertise for principal account clerk for the controller's office. Just for the record, Dave and I have worked off the county list for that position as we emailed emailed the board here previously. I think we got responses from about 30 people on the list who are not interested in the position at this time or any longer. So being down to 2 people out of that list are eligible to advertise for the position rather than work off the list. I think one of the people on the list is interested in interviewing, but we will obviously advertise for the position and that person will be involved in the interview process. So I need a motion to advertise for that position. Any discussion? Brenda, please poll the board.
Councilman Blazer. Councilwoman Hurd. Yes. Councilman Jackson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zavadi.
Yes. Next up is our monthly reports. Animal control, we have nothing from this month. Building department.
Dear Supervisors, Lawton, and Town Board members, during the month of November, the Buildings Department processed 20 building permits that collected $2,640.20 in building permit fees. We completed 125 construction inspections, 27 fire safety inspections, and responded to 12 code enforcement complaints. Total of 35 permits were closed with 22 certificates of occupancy and 13 certificates of compliance being issued. We also collected $296 in inspection fees we checked on the
Buildings and grounds.
Buildings and grounds report for December. During the month of December, we have completed the following tasks: snow removal on town property and parks, securing and winterizing sprinkler systems, daily cleaning and disinfecting the community center and court, perform maintenance on park equipment, and winterize equipment in preparation for winter months.
Okay, the controller budget versus actual has been filed. Highway department.
With winter weather conditions becoming more regular, we have officially ended our fall cleanup.
I'd like to thank the highway personnel for their continued dedication to keeping the highway roadways in the town of Milton. Yeah, residents remember that our town code prevents them from parking in roadways from November until April. The code makes sure the roadways are cleared so we can safely plow and do our jobs in an efficient manner. The highway department also makes a sand and salt mix available to town residents during the winter months. The sand and salt will only be available to town residents on a first come, first served basis. The sand and salt mix may only be taken in 5-gallon buckets or containers. Respectfully submitted, Town of Milton Highway Department.
Karen. I'm sorry, town historian.
I continue to work on answering several research requests. I also completed the document for COVID-19 pandemic. The county dashboard as of Saturday this past weekend, our county has 1,218 police active cases. And over the period of the last month, there has been 3,997 increases in the whole county. The town of Milton total cases right now is at 264 cases, which is an increase of 298 over the past month. In the village of Alsaspa, the total number of cases is 552, with an increase of 133 over the past month. And there are currently 45 people hospitalized, and sadly, there's been 38 people that have died. Just to mention that probably 2 weeks ago, the hospitalization was up to 65. So down 45, that's an improvement. So that's good. On December 7th, I attended a webinar sponsored by Documentary Heritage Program from New York that was entitled Photographs in the Archive, Photo Album Presentation in Milton History. We have a bunch of collections of photographs in our collection, and so that will be very helpful. Our next Historic Structures and Places Committee will be held on Thursday, January 13th at the Community Center, and anyone interested in local history is welcome to attend. In the last meeting, we discussed some of our cemetery issues and we talked about potential preparations in regard to the 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War celebration. The hope is to create a celebration committee sometime in January. The Saratoga County History Roundtable is continuing to have in-person meetings, and also they're being broadcast on Facebook Live. And feel free to attend any of those programs. They're usually well advertised in the paper and also on the website, Facebook page. Feel free to attend. They're very interesting, and even though they've already happened, some of them you can actually view on the website, Facebook page, there as a previously recorded thing, so that way you can watch it at a later time, which is good. The new book entitled Saratoga County Stories, which is a collection of the weekly stories that have been in local papers over the past year and a half. Those books are still available, and there's no holiday gift. And books can be purchased anytime website is open. And I believe it's still open tomorrow afternoon and Friday afternoon. So if you want to take that. So respectfully submitted and starts.
Thank you, Karen. Next up is our town clerk and registrar.
So for the month of November, we have 3 marriages, 7 certified marriage certificates, 47 certified death certificates, 3 foil and search of record requests, 91 dog licensing, 24 online dog licensing, 36 hunting and fishing license, and 1 escrow for $3,500. And the town share of all the rest of it is $1,856.66.
Thank you. We did not get a report from the justices this month. Town tax collector, she has nothing to report for December, but I'm quite sure gearing up in January and February, she'll have some news for us. Planning and zoning liaison report? Yeah. Okay. The only thing I have to report on the county is that we did pass our budget. Again, it's one of the better budgets. It dipped into fund balance a little bit, but not a huge amount. We had a little bit extra, not a little bit, $24 million, I think, in revenue that was unexpected from sales tax for last year, or for this year. And going forward, they are funding a lot of infrastructure projects with some additional money spent on healthcare to help us fight this COVID that we're still battling with here. So I think overall, the county's in pretty good shape, and that would be it for my report there. Anything under old business? Okay, then we'll move on to our final public comment session of the evening, if anybody would like to speak. Mr. Rossi.
This is about happy holidays, all. Mr. Supervisor, remember it was probably about a year and a half ago, I visited when your father passed. Sister and I attended the wake as my others, and it was a reminder to us that politics need to stop at the door of town hall sometimes, or at least figuratively such. We are neighbors, we are friends, we are people interested in the best interests of the town at all times. And I would never take that away from you, no matter what my support level was or wasn't for you in the last election or the previous election or whatever. I think I speak for a lot of people out there to say thank you for your service, that we don't take it for granted, that when things get escalated during politics, unfortunately, you lose sight of some of this stuff. And I do want you to understand and know that we do appreciate you. We don't need to lob grenades at town employees to make our points here. We don't need to start stupid comments that really escalate the situation up here. We can just say thank you. And we should all know that you did give your time, your service, and a lot of yourself in the job you did. Does everybody agree with the results at the end of the day? Of course not. That never happens in anything we do, politics or otherwise. But understand you are appreciated for what you do here. And I hope you've never lost sight of that fact through all the elections, etc. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Hi. You got to get real close to that microphone, Barbara.
Okay.
There you go.
There's a question that I have is where are they standing as far as moving into town hall and the seniors having our community center back? I believe it was the 23rd of December was the date that everything was supposed to be fixed and ready.
We were aiming for that date. There was that's tomorrow. Obviously, it's not going to happen tomorrow. There's an issue with parts for the furnace, and we are running into a bit of a supply issue also with the IT equipment that we need to have put in the building.
That's my question is you just found this out today?
The furnace issue came up about 2 weeks ago, and the IT issue we are working through.
So I guess we have at least another 3 weeks, hopefully. We have said that we would be moving back into Milton by January 6th. So I we hope, that's our first meeting, that date is met, where we can get back to our center. It's been almost 2 years now. We can understand, so using things like that, the holidays here, Merry Christmas. But we certainly would like to get back in on the 6th, as kind of promised us.
Well, I don't remember that actually being a promise. I think Councilman Fuller said we were going to do the best we could, and we are doing that. I think to undertake the size of the project that we did and to run into a few shortages here at the very end, we've been extremely fortunate for that to happen. We are working as hard as we can to get back into the building as fast as we can. I feel we're still going to be several weeks away. I don't believe if I'm going to get in trouble anyway, I don't believe January 6th is going to work. We have 2 holidays coming up in the next 14 days. Men aren't working, and there are timing issues with equipment to come in. As soon as we can get in that building, Mrs. Broderson, you will know. Well, at last, I believe at our last meeting, Linda did say she was going to schedule your January meetings for the VFW. I believe she said that she was going to schedule your January meetings for the VFW just to cover the bases. Anyone else? Mr. Landis. Sorry, Michael, I drew a blank there. I apologize.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Michael Landis, 272 Bellwell Drive. I want to just add my thanks as others. Some want to do it on a more personal level, others thank you, Supervisor, and kind of a general way for your service. I want to acknowledge that I have been a pain in your butt personally, and I have given it to you publicly with both barrels often, and I appreciate that you never let that get in the way of being professional and being honest, and it could have been really easy to say what I wanted to hear, or just, kind of let me do my thing and ignore me. You didn't, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate on a larger level the fact that you did take a lot of thought from people. I mean, I can only for myself, but it took a lot. And I've been really impressed by that, and everyone here knows I don't really doing a whole lot of things, but that impressed me. And I appreciate that, and I want to publicly thank you and acknowledge my own role in being protected. And I hope, maybe playing off of Martha said, I hope you get some peace and quiet, and I promise, Benny, I will not bother you anymore with this stuff. So thank you, and thank you all for allowing me to present here in public.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lewis.
Keith Lewis, 38 East High Street, Ballston Spa, New York. I want to reiterate what some of the other speakers said as far as thanks. First, I'd like to thank Deputy Mayor Ellie Dillon. I know personally the sacrifices she had to make in order to step into the position, and I know the commitment that she made. I'm aware of how many times she met at Town Hall and took the time to find out information and to make sure that all of the employees were heard and all of the opinions were voiced and processed. And I just can't say thank you enough. I also want to say thank you to the board members who are recognizing the governor's mandate and the CDC's recommendation about masks. I listened to those numbers, and I'm bothered. I'm also personally bothered as someone who watched the Zlotnick family go through the loss of their father to COVID. And I'm reminded how important it is for us to set personal opinions aside in order for us to protect the good of the community and the good of the neighbors that we care about. So thank you to those of you who are indeed recognizing that and upholding the law. And then lastly, I want to say to Supervisor Zlotnick, the outcome of the race was not unexpected statistically, as was discussed at the beginning and throughout the campaign. That's just what happens when three-party races are fought and two of those individuals are close together statistically. But I admire the fact that you put your hat in the race and continued to come back. I admire the fact that you always put the town first and were honest. I admire the fact that in spite of the attacks that you took, you were always a gentleman and took more than what I think any human being should. And I am celebrating and raising a glass tonight to the fact that you and your beautiful family will be able to enjoy the peace and the season, the holidays, in a truly unencumbered way and not worry about all this other mishigas. God bless you, Supervisor Zlotnick, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sharon. I'm sorry, Mrs. Licata. That's your mother, yeah, I know.
Cheryl got a word about those stuff. Betty, I too would like to thank you for your service. I'd like to thank all of you for what you do, and all of the employees who take care of our felt this beautiful town. And I know you got good bad on many fronts. But you were always done, and never disrespect that is a good deal. Always took the high road. So I'd like to thank you for that. I'd also like to wish you all very, very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And good health to all of you, please.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. Zlotnick. A little closer.
You want to start? I'm just like, I'm not as nice as this. I'm not nearly as nice as this. I'm the kindest person, Sharon can attest that. I'm the kindest person you will ever meet. But I'm not nearly as nice as them. Many of you have been very, very good to him, and many of you have treated him like a bag of dirt. He is not. And people that ran with him and I supported, I can't tell you how much my blood boiled over this last 12 months I've worked on that. People that supported Benny and helped him were told they were the devil. You're wrong. You're just wrong. You'll hear what you want to hear, you'll believe what you want to believe, and that's fine. I can tell you, Benny has worked tirelessly to get you back in this book. With gesture, people can't see me on the studio, just get that in here. He has no desire to keep you out here. He has done the very best he can. For the past 2 years, he has worked 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. He's lost his father. His mother has some health issues. My mother's had some health issues. We had a family issue we had to address, and after we were 13 hours from home, there was an emergency declared, and he was on vacation. Well, I can tell you, he worked the whole time we were on vacation. I was pretty mad because he didn't get a vacation. He spent his whole vacation on the phone serving the residents of this town. if anybody thinks he has not given 100% of himself all the time, and we've been married 25 years, so after 25 years, he's given all of his time to the town, the past 2 years, even more so, you're just wrong if you don't know. Somebody thanked him for being compassionate a month or so ago. Oh, I didn't know you were that way. Well, then you didn't look, you didn't open your eyes, and you didn't pay any attention to the person, you only listened to the husband. And so to my husband, you have done a wonderful job with this town, and I am so very proud of you, and I cannot wait for January 1st, so I'll have my husband back. Thank you very much.
Yes. Seeing none, I will close public comment. Does anybody else have anything? Okay. I've worked for the town of Milton for almost 20 years. 13 years as a member of the planning board, and the last 6 as a board member and a supervisor. Everything I did during that time was in the best interest of the town, and more importantly, you, the residents. 2 months ago, a friend of mine resigned from his job because he felt he could no longer be effective, and he explained his reasons. He was seen as a hero to some and a villain to others. I harbor no illusions as to how I will be seen. I am not bitter or a sore loser, but it honestly took me several days to come to terms with the results, but I respect the voters of Milton and their decision. About 2 years ago, before I was sworn in, I went to town hall with the woman I had selected to become my confidential secretary. The purpose of our visit was to ensure a smooth transition. This is the most notable concept in a democracy, in case you weren't aware. When we asked Shannon for a walkthrough, she said, no, I'm not going to do it. Nobody helped me, so I'm not helping you. Having lost an election several years before, I understood how she felt and tried to convey that to her. I mistakenly thought that would be the end of the animosity. On January 1st, at our swearing-in ceremony, the highway superintendent told a family member, no one wants him here, and we're going to make his head spin for the next 2 years. In March of 2020, the pandemic was just beginning, and the county treasurer was warning of dire revenue shortages. Being new, I asked several more experienced supervisors what they plan to do. Some were holding off on paving projects, some had already postponed projects. When I asked if we could do the same in front of employees and a board member, I was told by the superintendent that I was stupid. Contracts were signed and we had to follow through. A little while later, at a board meeting, when questioned about why we moved out of town hall, I said we may have been a little overzealous in closing the building. Soon after that, a sign was posted at the superintendent's table with the word of the day. Overzealous was that first word, followed by many. We had snags. We had incompetence. One of my favorites, coming from the highway, we had integrity. Disrespectful. This one I'm not really sure, but it says cabaret, so evidently coming to work is like a nightclub. It's a joyous thing to do. Shortly after that, this picture went up. For those of you under the age of 25 or 30, this is a comedian. His name is Benny Hill. He happens to be in what they believe is a Boy Scout uniform. However, since Benny Hill is from England, this is a Queen Scout uniform. So again, a little off target. During the budget season of 2020, we took a relatively small amount out of the highway budget, and I was again called stupid in front of a board member, employees, and the budget committee, causing one committee member to have serious doubts about returning to the 2020 budget committee. I understand that the supervisor-elect is intending to bring back Mrs. Pine as his confidential secretary. I want you all to know a little bit more about Shannon. This is the woman who has admitted on tape in an interview the Republican committee posted on their Facebook page that she did delete items off the town computers. She came to a board meeting and handed out disparaging information about a resident in an effort to discredit them at great personal cost to that individual. She then asked to be put on the town's health insurance policy under her recently deceased husband's name, knowing that is not allowable. Councilwoman Kerr, for 2 years you've been in charge of addressing the residents' concerns with planning and revising the town handbook. It's now December and we appear to be no closer than when you started. You told me the Milton Republican Committee offered you the deputy supervisor position, and you said you wouldn't sell your soul for a stipend. So my question is, what did Chairman Kuzniers and Supervisor Barrett offer you that meeting you had with them? And remember, you were the secretary, you were the deputy supervisor until you decided to run against me at no risk to you, but at great risk to the team that ran together in 2019. Over the past 2 years, we have accomplished a few things. An updated website is nearing completion. The emergency corps move to Town Center has taken the first steps towards becoming a reality. The long dormant Route 50 corridor study is ready for adoption, and both the county and the state have written letters of support for the traffic improvements. Surely with the support of the state and federal officials who endorsed the supervisor-elect, this project will move along. And lastly, the long overdue repairs and improvements to Town Hall are almost complete. I implore the next board and those that follow to put a reasonable amount into a dedicated fund for future maintenance of both Town Hall and the Community Center. It has been my pleasure and honor to serve the town and you its residents. In closing, good night, and may your God bless you. This meeting is adjourned.